Hi, this is Richard Pedley from Garden Elf. I'm here at a garden that has been designed and built with some students at Wanganui Collegiate School, and just walking you through a system that they created based around a chicken mandala annual vegetable garden. So the program that was offered here was one where they learn a little bit about their landscape and the properties of that, where the sun's coming from, where the wind's coming from, the soil properties, the microclimate, where they are in the world, the distance from the ocean, and how all of these factors tie in with local conditions to create different microclimates that will suit different plants. So they investigate, those climates and microclimates, and look at what different plants and animals can be suitable to those conditions, and design a system in harmony with that. So what they came up with was this chicken mandala garden. It was constructed from bamboo and twisty ties and some plastic fencing there that was all quite easy for the students to be able to use and develop a space with. So it offered a way for them to get hands-on practice with creating a garden space that wasn't too dependent upon different expertises or equipment, and they could get stuck in with quite easily. They initially rototilled the space and added some compost and created some pathways. They mapped out a food forest down the back there, so that as water moves down the site, it's the food forest there kind of absorbs any excess nutrients that have been which would otherwise leave the site and not have a productive use. So they instead being incorporated into producing herbs and fruits and different understory plants that might be fixing nutrients or providing pollen for bees. And in front of that there's the chicken mandala vegetable beds. They have been growing blue lupins in these spaces, and have just chopped, dropped and mulched that, and planted some summer crops that you just see coming out now. They've got some tomatoes in these first couple of beds that are just poking out now. So they grew them from seed in a little aquaponics system in the classroom, and as they've matured, they're now planting them out into this space. And over on the other sides there's pumpkins and zucchinis that are emerging through the blue lupins that they've mulched down. The idea of the blue lupins was to fix some nitrogen in the soil and improve the soil quality. It's quite a sandy soil here, so they needed to do a lot of work to improve the soil, and they also had some worm bins in here that they've now removed, but they were recycling some scraps from the kitchen and building up the biological capacity of the soil and the nutrients that were in the soil too. So that kept them pretty busy doing that, and it's a great hands-on activity that's gave them a sense of what it was like to develop a space and integrate different functions in that space with recycling waste and looking after the soil and developing it in harmony with the landscape and the different systems involved. The idea with this is there's going to be chickens that rotate through that space, so they also created this chicken mandala here out of bamboo and chicken wire and old irrigation pipe. So again, pretty hands-on materials that didn't require too much expertise to be able to do. And they've got a little roost up there too, and a little bar there for them to be able to reach that roost, and it's nice and sheltered. They're going to put a little lawnmower catcher down on the base there for the chickens to lay eggs in. They've got 2 to 3 chickens that are coming in at the end of the week that they're going to pop in there, and the chickens stay in this space that's all fenced off and gated when they're not being used in the annual garden up the front here. But once the crops have matured and they've been harvested, the chickens will then rotate through this space in their chicken mandala, and they will remove the weeds and get rid of pests and fertilise the ground, and you give them lots of kitchen scraps as well, so they bury them and dig them into the soil and increase the fertility of the soil that way too. And once they've moved on, you can then plant them with the next lot of crops that you want to grow in that space. So it's a bit of a way to integrate the functions of the chickens and their properties that they do as far as foraging and scratching and making use of those functions as a way to do a lot of the gardening tasks for you. So instead of you having to go down there and do all the weeding and debugging, you can get the chickens to do that instead. So, you know, integrating systems and the functions of different animals and plants within those systems in mutually beneficial ways, so that you increase the overall yield and the diversity of that yield and creates mutually beneficial relationships in the different elements that you design. And it's a scalable idea. You know, you can do the same thing on different scales. It might be an orchard with pigs, or an orchard with geese, or it could be a woodland system with sheep or cattle, and they're grazing through a nut woodland or a big fruit tree woodland. And you know, you're looking at the different ways that the plants and animals can mutually benefit each other and create, you know, profitable, functional agricultural systems that offer a bit of a solution to ways to create agricultural production in a way that's also regenerative to the landscape. It incorporates trees and has more, you know, thoughtful design and the placement and the integration of elements within that landscape, so that you can have more diversity and profitability and your different revenue streams in the farm that you design. So that gives you a bit of a sense of what a chicken mandala system can look like. There's lots of variety on it. It's quite good fun to design, because being a circular construction, you can create all sorts of fun geometrical shapes. We had a bit of a rectangular shape here that wasn't too imaginative, and that was a bit of a restriction on time available with the rototiller and ease of design and we had a few restrictions there that simplified the design a little bit. But if you've got a bit more time, you can you know, create some really beautiful, intricate geometrical patterns that are all circular and flowing and integrate, you know, fruits and berries and herbs as well as the annual vegetables that you do, or chicken feed. So there's great diversity and creative potential in the garden spaces you design, which can be a really cool imaginative project for kids to get involved in. So if you like that, we've got our website, www.gardenelf.co.nz. You can contact me. It's richard@gardenelf.co.nz. We offer a service in the Manawatu Wanganui region, creating regenerative foodscapes similar to this for urban backyards or small farms, lifestyle blocks for school gardens. We can help develop an educational program if you're at a school. We can come out if you're a private residence and give you a design for your property and a quote for installing that design, and we can do all the work for you. We can set it all up. We can get all the plants and animals there and fences built and get it all set up and give you an idea of how to maintain that space and even look after it if you need to go away on holidays, or you have a requirement for someone to kind of look after that space for you. So yeah, hope to hear more from you soon.